Today's speaker is Dave Stevens, and like all the others, I try to compare myself a little bit with Dave, just to see how I would fare. He's overcome adversity to be successful, and let's look a little deeper in his background to see just how he's overcome many adversities to become successful. Remember, I'm comparing myself to him. Dave played high school football. I played high school football. Dave had more tackles than I did in high school. He then goes on to play college football and tries out for the Dallas Cowboys, way beyond my means. Dave was a wrestler. I was a high school wrestler. Dave had more pins than I did. Couldn't do any better than Dave did. Dave has played golf, hockey, volleyball, basketball, tennis, and was probably better in each of those sports than I was. Dave is especially proud of his high school baseball record. I played high school baseball. Dave had more stolen bases in high school than I did. At 4. I was pretty quick, too. I didn't have 4 stolen bases. Dave did. Dave goes on to play minor league baseball. At dinner last night, I learned a few more things about Dave that I shared with him that I would share with you today on other ways that I thought maybe I could compare myself a little bit to Dave. Dave shares with me he married his high school sweetheart. I married my high school sweetheart. I'm not sure where the adversity in that is, but and I think, hey, here's something I can do maybe as good as Dave. And then he says, well, she was a cheerleader. Okay, I married a cheerleader, right? And then he says, well, she was captain of the cheerleading squad in high school. Now, for me, that would have been my sister, so that would have been a little awkward, but I got close, Dave. Dave is described by Wolfman Productions as a disabled multi-sport veteran. I would describe him as an amazing multi-sport athlete. I'm sorry, I said veteran before, athlete. He's also enjoying a 30-plus year sports broadcasting career and has earned 7 National Sports Emmy Awards. Please welcome my new friend, Dave Stevens.
On? Do we have my mic on? Hello, test 1, 2. You got me? You can hear me? Okay. All right. Should I get up a little higher? All right, let me get up here so you can see me. And we figured out this wasn't high enough, so let me get over here. Because again, I live in your world, you don't live in mine, so I have to deal with these kind of things. So, hey everybody, it's good to be tall. You guys look pretty good out there. Well, first I'd like to thank the McGriff Insurance Services, the Blue Chip program that have here today, and all of the nominees, just to see some of these stories and to just hear the adversity and everything that all of these groups have overcome, and especially all the local businesses. I'm very near and dear to the hearts of the small business people because I've always been, that David versus Goliath kind of thing, that underdog. And small businesses always are the underdogs because they're competing against the big names and the bigger people out there. And so we're all kind of this group together of underdogs. So it's really a privilege and an honor to be here today and to hear some of these stories. Like Donovan, I just imagine if any of you remember the Pee Wee Herman movie where Pee Wee's rescuing all the animals out of that pet shop and it's on fire and he's grabbing snakes and lizards and turtles and all these kind of things. And I'm just imagining, how the hell did you get a rhino out of there? We got to talk later. So. And Cole, I mean, what you've gone through with helping hundreds of individuals with the intellectual and developmental, I mean, when I was a kid and I heard these things where they would say, well, hire the handicap. They're fun to watch. And I always thought, wow, that's just such a mean thing to say. But I never thought of myself as handicapped. And getting in the real world and the work world where you don't have a lot of people with disabilities, and for you folks out there to provide opportunities for those that have disabilities that you can see or that you can't see, it truly is amazing. And I like that we have so many diverse groups that were up for the awards. the Myerside Resort, what you guys did with what that area and to overcome the places where there were drugs and all these kind of things, and you took those chances. And Shalinda, you're the permit queen, so everybody knows that they can go to you for help. So again, it's just amazing to be here for all of you guys. Like, those who didn't win, we're all winners. Everybody in this group and the community and the beautiful people of Naples and Bonita Springs and Fort Myers, like, we are all here together to honor each other, because we don't have success if it aren't for you guys, the small people, the underdogs, the little people. I mean, I've always been little, but the little people, we got to help each other out there. So it is my honor and my privilege to be here with you guys today. And I'm just going to go a little journey in my life and talk about some of the things that I've overcome, and just kind of give you maybe a different perspective. And those of you that have dealt with people with disabilities, and those of you who haven't, maybe you can come away today looking a little different of how you see people on the inside and how you view people on the outside. And so I'd like to explain a little bit of who I am. Those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Dave Stevens. And those of you who have seen me before, you're probably thinking right now, he is much better looking in person. So thank you for that. But my journey started long time ago, back when I was a little kid, and it was easy. I was born, but I had a couple of strikes against me when I was born. First, I was born without legs, and so right there, strike one. Strike two, I was put up for adoption. So I was lucky that I had two loving parents that decided to adopt me and raise me and instill in me the virtues that would help me to get where I wanted to be, to make me normal, to treat me with love, and to raise me just like any child that was out there. So I had a normal childhood. I did Cub Scouts, I did all the fun things, I did all kinds of school things and activities and extracurricular things just because I felt like I was a normal kid. And I started out early as an entertainer, you might think, as you can see up here, this is me, I think 3 or 4 years old, and I worked with the Shriners because they provided me my artificial legs from a young age, and so I would go out and put on shows, but we were really poor. This is the house that we lived in. This is in Whitman, Arizona, and it was a one-room house, and again, when you're in that element, you don't realize how poor you are, because I was loved. And a couple years ago, I had the opportunity to take my sons to Arizona, and my oldest son, Brady, looked at it, kind of said, "What in the heck, Dad? How could you choose to live here?" And I thought about it a little bit, and I said, "Well, you know what, Brady? I didn't choose to live here, but I could choose where I wanted to end up." And that's when I decided that I was going to turn my life into something I could make myself into, and I played sports. So I started playing high school football in Arizona. I started making tackles and playing defense and doing all these kind of things. And I took it to the next level. I said, I'm going to play baseball. So again, my coach works with me. We learn how to hit. I learn how I can run and get on the base and, run bases, steal bases. And then, of course, you're a baseball player. You've got to have a position. And they stuck me in the outfield where I got to catch balls. And I got to figure out how to catch those kind of things. I got good at that too, so then I decided I was going to wrestle, and the coaches in Wickenburg worked with me, and I got to go to 2 state championships in Arizona and did really well at that. But it wasn't enough for me. So with the opportunity that I had from Julian Foss to pay for my education, I went to Augsburg College in Minnesota. I became the only legless athlete in the history of sports to play college football, something I'm very proud of. And I really enjoyed my time in there and playing sports. And again, when you have no legs, you don't know what your limits are, and you have to push those limits. And those limits continue to be the challenges that I had to overcome. So what did I do next? Heck, I tried out for the Dallas Cowboys. Now, obviously, I didn't make the team, but still, to go there and to compete against those athletes that are trying to make the team, trying to be a professional football player. It was wonderful, but the ultimate dream of mine was to play professional baseball. And in 1996, with the St. Paul Saints, I had the opportunity not only to play minor league baseball, to start alongside of Darryl Strawberry, former New York Met, former New York Yankee. And we became friends, and we're still friends to this day. He's over in Tampa with his rehab clinic, but I even pinch hit for Darryl Strawberry. There's not a lot of guys with legs that can say they pinch hit for Darryl Strawberry. After that, I settled on my career, moved on to ESPN, where I spent 20 wonderful years at ESPN, covering Super Bowls, everything that you can imagine that you see on ESPN that actually happens. And I won 7 Emmy Awards while I worked on SportsCenter and Baseball Tonight and all those shows. And it just shows that you can do anything in life, and I'm living proof. And those Emmys that I got weren't given to me because I had a disability or someone felt sorry for me. My name's on that trophy, and it just says Dave Stevens. So, I always say the script in your head will take you farther than your talents. So you have to think about what you want to do in life. And, just because we're all not teenagers in this room, you still need to have goals. You still need to plot out your courses for your businesses and what you want your business to do and how you want it to prosper and grow and add employees and expand and do things where you can give back to the community and start charities and do wonderful things and make sure that you have an impact not only in the business world, but in your community. And that's why I say the script in your head will take you farther than your talents, because you have to plot that out. You have to look to the future and think about where you want to be in a year, in 5 years, and in 10 years. And I had those goals as a kid, and I know it might be weird to hear and you might not believe it, but I had those goals. And I had goals that I had to tell to 20 million people on a television show called That's Incredible. And so this is an ugly, tall, skinny-looking, geeky kid on ABC TV just decided to share his dreams.
I talked to a Yankee scout, and he said, there's no really reality of you ever getting in. The odds are 30 trillion to 1 because guys with legs don't make it, and they have to be the best. Have to be the best in the world, which means you have to be 10 times best. And I just said, well, you can't take my dream away from me.
For your St. Paul Saints, the second baseman, number 32, Dave Stevens.
What will be your plans if you can't make it as an athlete?
Well, I'd like to maybe get into professional broadcasting and maybe someday replace Howard Cosell.
Woo! Well, here we are outside of U.S. Bank Stadium, where Super Bowl 52 between the Philadelphia Eagles and the New England Patriots will be played on Super Bowl Sunday. I'm with the guy, the man, Mike Trout of the Los Angeles Angels. I keep wanting to say California. Being an old guy, it's tough to say that. So I am so blessed that now in this advanced age that I'm in, that I'm no longer with ESPN, but I'm able to do things. I work with the Disability Channel on a volunteer basis and go around the country at events that I'm at and interview people. I just had the privilege last week to talk to Larry Fitzgerald and my old buddy Herm Edwards at ASU and talk to some Phoenix Suns players. But again, it's about those goals. And again, I have the proof that I had those goals at a young age. And you think about, well, this guy had no legs. What was going to be his future? But those goals are what kept me. They pushed me. They gave me that fire. Nobody was going to tell me that a guy without legs couldn't do the things that I wanted to do. So I turned those goals into my mindset of what I was going to achieve. So I continued to play sports, and I continued to work hard to get an education and then get a job in local TV and then move on to ESPN. And now my life is so amazing. I get to travel around and talk to wonderful people like you. I get to go to schools where I can really make an impact and influence these kids so they can see each other and they can understand about bullying and inclusiveness and all those kind of things that kids have to deal with. Because I don't have legs, people stare at me, they look at me, they feel sorry for me. And I don't want anyone ever to do that because I have lived the most amazing life. As I say a lot of times, you remember the movie Forrest Gump. I've lived a Forrest Gump life. On that same That's Incredible show, I was with Tiger Woods, a 5-year-old Tiger Woods. It's on my YouTube channel if you want to see it. And again, we both had dreams. This little 5-year-old wanted to play golf, and this little legless guy wanted to work in TV, and we both achieved our dreams and our goals. So it's not too late in life, and it's not too late for any of you people in this room to continue to set goals. If you set goals, those are the things you can achieve, and you set higher goals, and you continue to do that, and you shoot, and you shoot, and you try and fail. I've failed a lot in my life, but I don't have far to fall, so it's okay, right? But you don't get what you want unless you work hard for it. You try and fail, and you get there. There's no book for how to play sports for legless dummies. I was the dummy that did it. There's no book on how you should learn how to date a woman if you don't have legs. You just have to go through those growing pains and those processes. All the experiences of my life on a day-to-day basis is a challenge. Every day is a challenge for me. To be able to do things, to be able to just get out and live a normal life and have 3 boys, or to just, hey, how do you get in a chair? You jump up, you just do that. You just do these kind of things. No one taught me. It was trial and error, failure and successes. I had to learn to crawl before I could learn to crawl. And how many in this room have their first set of legs? I better see every hand in here, all right? Well, I still have my very first set of legs. And, you know, this is what I had to go through in life. These are what I had to wear. And they weren't very comfortable, and it was a trap door. And you just put the body in there. And as I grew and I got bigger, they got bigger and bigger. But it was just dead weight. I was just dragging around dead weight. And as I got older, I wanted to be taller, and I wanted to be 6'3" when I didn't fit into cars and I didn't fit on airplanes. And, you know, but I wanted to be equal with all of you. I call you leggies because you all have legs, right? So I wanted to be like you leggies. I wanted to be tall. I wanted to see you eye to eye. And my son put it in perspective a few years ago when I went and spoke, and he introduced me. And he said, I love my dad the way he is, and I wouldn't want him to be any other way. And so when I talked to the doctors, and they said I was doing the wear and tear on my shoulders, and they said I was tearing up my body. I've had rotator cuff surgery on this one. I've had 2 rotator cuff surgeries on this one. I just had this one done in March. I'm still not to the point. But when your son tells you, I love you the way you are, you know, it really helped me to realize that, okay, it's time to transition into a wheelchair and moving into a different world. And again, more challenges. They say that you have handicap parking and it's great, but half the time the parking is at a different part of the building, and there's not even ramps that you can get up if you're in your wheelchair, so you've got to go all the way around. There's issues right here at this beautiful hotel of how I had to get into restaurants and things like that. I've got to go all the way around while Scott and everybody could just go up the stairs. You know, and I'm not complaining. Again, I say, I live in your world, you don't live in mine. And it's not a bad thing, it's just those are the daily battles, the most intimate things that people don't realize and see. The sports and stuff is all glamorous, but it's the day-to-day stuff that I have to deal with. And that's why I like to say the script in your head will take you farther than your talents. You have to think and look out there and appreciate and have those goals and set those goals. Now, for you folks out there who haven't seen anyone like me, I hit the wrong thing, didn't I here? Yep, sorry, bear with me. I went backwards on, I've never had one of these before, so here we go. I always say don't allow your weaknesses to prevent you from greatness. Now, it's obvious what you think are my weaknesses, but my weaknesses are my strengths. And I figured out the way to turn those into my strengths. And we all have weaknesses. We all have things that we have to overcome. But I wasn't going to let those weaknesses or my setbacks keep me from where I wanted to get. I keep going backwards. There we go. All right, I'm new to this, and I've never had one of these fancy things, so. There we go. So, when you're dealt with this kind of hand, what would you do? You know, how would you cope? How would you come up with a means to feel comfortable describing yourself and dealing with people? And this is something that I just came up with as a kid. As you see, I wanted to climb on things. I had my taller legs, and as I grew, I was trying to figure out how was I going to cope and fit in with these kids in my school and make them put at ease. So what you're seeing now is my feet. I've got 2 little flippers, 4 toes on one foot, 2 toes on the other, and let me introduce you to Mama and the baby toes. Mom and the baby toes live on this side. Her husband left her a long, long time ago, but the toes are still there. And she had 2 sons, Joe and Joe. They became doctors. They went away to college. They came back. They bought a condo on this side. So this is JoJo. And again, it was a way to make people feel at ease of something that is so freaky and so weird and so uncomfortable that it put them at ease. And 30 years later, when I go to my high school reunions, everybody's saying, hey, how's Mama? How's JoJo? It's because of my sense of humor. It's because I was able to overcome that and figure out a means to make it because of my life is such a challenge. When I'm dealing with 2 feet of snow in Connecticut and I've got to get out to my car, or I park in a handicap zone and somebody has pinched me in. If you were a really severely disabled person, you couldn't do anything. I'm able to jump out of my wheelchair and get in my car, but you think about what other people would have to do in that situation. And I live a normal life. I do gardening. This isn't a 4-foot gopher hole. That's me working out and trying to get things ready. And again, I like to do everything for myself. I don't have any help. So when I do groceries, I put bags in my mouth. I jump on my skateboard. And you make sure the ice cream goes in first because it's going to melt because you got to take them upstairs. And I drive. I get everywhere around the world and around the country. And I'm able to take myself and use hand controls and do all the things that keep me mobile and that keep me equal and keep me normal. But again, it's the things that I have to overcome and think about, like how would I do laundry? You know, most of the times it's in the basement, step by step. And when it's raining, I got to keep hefty bags in the car because 1, they're very slimming on this beautiful body. And 2, I don't have to wear Depends because it keeps me wet on the outside. So again, you don't know what you're prepared for. You have to think outside the box in order for me to live my normal life. So who's your mama? You have to overcome something, think of a creative way to make it not so bad. And you have to figure out who's your JoJo, yeah? You have to find your JoJo. So again, if there's something out there that you're not comfortable with, or things that you have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, or things that you have to overcome, there are always ways to cope with it. There are good mechanisms to cope with it. I'm not a genius. I don't know how the heck I came up with naming my toes, you know. But again, it made something so unusual and so freaky just be common and normal, because that's all I've ever wanted to be seen as normal. I hate that word handicap. The word handicap is probably one of the worst vocabulary words that's out there, because one, it just lumps everybody in all together. It's just this big old freaky family of things of people with disabilities and whatever, but it's not fair. If you're black, you're black. If you're Hispanic, you're Hispanic. If you're Asian, you're Asian. But if you're handicapped, we're all thrown in this together. And hopefully when you walk away from here today, you will say, Dave Stevens wasn't handicapped. He was just a guy without legs. And we need to look at that at other people when we see them, when we view them, when we see not only on the inside, but what they are on the outside. You know, I'm not handicapped. I'm just a guy without legs who loves sports. I absolutely love sports. It's taken me places I never dreamed about. It's taken me Australia, New Zealand, Ireland. I've played in the same outfield with Barry Bonds in an Olympic tryout. I've tried out for the Cowboys, the Minnesota Twins, Cincinnati Reds. You know, I've done all these amazing things that you leggies would only dream about doing. All right, let me see if I can get this right this time. There we go. So what I did was I turned my disability into my ability. There's that word again. Disability, disabled, handicapped. You know, these labels that people who aren't that have put that out there. But I turned my disability into my ability. And we all have handicaps. There's all something wrong. We all have something a little wrong with us. If it's glasses, or we're too tall, or we don't like our weight, or we're not comfortable talking in public, or all these things that we have, all the little struggles, the day-to-day things. We all have something a little different with us that makes us unique. It makes us special. But you guys have to understand, how can you overcome yours? You have to think about what I can do to get stronger, to get better. There are cards on your table. We give them to the kids in the schools, and they have goals on them. And if you guys have goals in your life, it's easy to write it down and just put it on the fridge and say, okay, I want to learn how to speak Spanish, or I want to learn how to cook Chinese food, or something like that. And then write down how you're going to go and apply it. It's real easy. And again, you'll try and fail, and you'll experiment, and you'll do these things. But it's important to have goals, especially at this point in our life. And again, with you guys making contributions, not only in the business world, but in your own areas and in your own towns, you have to turn your disability into your ability and continue to shine. Now, I also have had bullying all my life. I've had it since I was a little kid. Things that you don't think about, the snide remarks, the looks, everybody's staring at me. But recently, I started experiencing it even at my advanced age of 52. And a few weeks ago, I had the opportunity to interview Rob Gronkowski of the New England Patriots. And Gronk and I were sitting there, and we were having fun. And I pulled out the Tide Pods and said, hey, Gronk, how do I get stains out of my butt? They're always on the ground. And we had a good time. But before I even left the stadium, before I got into my car, I was on the internet. And I was trending. I learned what that word trending was really fast. And my kids called me and they said, Dad, you're blowing up on Instagram and Twitter. People are making fun of you. They're saying horrible things. They're saying, hey, there's that little guy from Game of Thrones, or this guy must be a part of mixed martial arts, and all kinds. Some were very funny, actually. But there were some really, really mean ones, you know. And my kids are like, Dad, how are you going to deal with that? And I said, Brady, these are just people that are just spineless people that now can sit behind and bully people on social media, on Facebook and Instagram, and they pick on kids, and they get kids to get upset. And I just said, Brady, I don't care who they are. I know who I am, and the people who know me and appreciate me on the outside are going to know that it's okay. So I've got a great sense of humor. You know, I'm not above sitting in a sand trap and freaking out the golfers, and they go, wow, that is a really deep sand trap, right? And there was a new movie that just came out called Littlefoot. I thought it was my life story, but it turned out it was about the abominable snowman, you know? And of course, on Halloween, I don't need CGI for all kinds of fancy effects and things like that. You know, I have a crazy warped sense of humor, and if anyone knows me, you know I do crazy things, but I like to put people at ease. I like to make people realize that if you can't make fun of yourself, you can't make fun of others. You know, soccer's never a game I'm going to be playing, but I like to support our team. And of course, when you go to the zoo and you see a crocodile, you got to jump out and freak out the people. And if anybody there has any association with The Walking Dead, I would save them millions on CGI. So, but I also love to come down here and put my golf tournament on over at Champions Gate in Orlando. And, you know, it's part of my legacy. It's my job to educate people and let them to see that, yes, anybody can do anything in life if you put your mind to it and you work hard despite the odds. You know, I could have sat around and cried and felt sorry for myself and sat around on a street corner trying to sell pencils and, you know, we'll work for food or, you know, we'll work for a new skateboard or something like that. But my legacy is to educate, to inspire, and to motivate. And you guys have to understand that's where I'm coming from when you see the things that I'm doing. I'm not special. I'm not a hero. I'm not a role model. I'm just a guy without legs that went out and played sports. And that got me where I am today. And so the people that know me and my friends, and I was just in Arizona for 10 days. And it's again, they just see me as me. No one notices, you know. It's like, oh, he doesn't have legs? Well, man, whatever. It's just Dave. He's crazy. Because life is made of ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Now, this is an extraordinary group of people, but you're all ordinary. But you have made such accomplishments and such an impact. And the award winners tonight, and I still got to talk to you about how you got that rhino out of there. But again, life is made of ordinary people doing extraordinary things. I've played football with Snoop Dogg. I played golf, and you already know my handicap, right? But I've been on TV, and now I impact kids, and it has been an amazing ride. And it's not over. You know, I am traveling the world and have the opportunity to meet wonderful people here, and Scott and Stacy and all the people that put this amazing event together. But it's not over for me. You have to make an impact, and you have to use your gifts. And this is what I do now.
Make 'em laugh, make 'em laugh. Don't you know everyone wants to laugh?
And you saw this legless guy coming after you. What would you have done out there if we'd have faced each other?
To be honest, I don't know. I don't know.
This is probably your first interview down on the ground on your butt and stuff like that?
First time ever,
All
baby.
right.
The first time everything, okay?
Oh, it's so cool. I won't feel my legs. I will feel my legs. Everything. What's the weirdest thing right now off the top of your head you've ever eaten?
Sasquatch.
Slip on a banana, peel the world at your feet. Make 'em laugh, make 'em laugh, make 'em laugh.
I only want one accolade from you. Call me that I'm your friend.
And I continue to have opportunities. I'll be in Green Bay, Wisconsin, playing in Lambeau Field in 2 weeks at halftime of a Dolphins-Packers game with my Wounded Warrior teammates. It's taken me here to Tampa Bay to work out with the Rays and to sit in the dugouts. And again, a college football player without legs, nobody would believe the things I've done. But I continue to work out with baseball teams and travel around. And we have our Disability Dream and Do Foundation with Dave Clark, which led to me learning how to skate and to play hockey, and to continue to go around and play baseball with Tim Tebow and get to meet some amazing kids and athletes. And now I tell my story to kids.
You can't have success without the failures. You can try and fail and try and fail, and it's going to get you to where you want to be.
You don't judge a book by its cover. You don't feel sorry for a person like me. What you can take away from me is that if you work hard enough, if you do the right things in life, you can do anything that you want to do in life.
This is me taking Drew Bledsoe down in November. I sacked Michael Vick last year, and he retired the next day. I guess you get sacked by a legless guy, it's time to walk away. But, you know, I take my boys to our camps. We impact so many people with Dave Clark and Doug Cornfield. And, you know, when you leave today, we've got a little table out there. We are, you know, an organization is run on love, but you can't just run on love. So what we do is we sell things, we sell products. So if you take an opportunity to look at some of the things, there's a great book out there called America at the Seams. It's the 50 best baseball stories, one per state. Mine was selected as the best story from Arizona. Dave's was selected as from New York, so that book is out there. So again, if you could take a little time, we just appreciate anything, because the impact that we make with these kids and the camps that we put on over here with the Miracle, it truly is tremendous. But I'd like to leave you with a couple thoughts today. One, you guys have no excuses. If a guy without legs can do the things that I did, then you guys are lazy if you're not getting off your butts and making an impact in this world. So think about how much better off you have it, because I truly am blessed that I am what I am. And I could have been a lot worse off, and I see a lot worse things. And so I am lucky. So you look at people and you appreciate and you see what they go through. So if your ankle hurts tomorrow, or you stub your toe, or you don't want to take out the garbage, think about Dave. What would Dave do? He would just do it. So again, you do that. And the other thing I want to leave you with as we wrap this up is, you can do anything in life. You can do anything that you want to do in life. I don't have legs, and I've reached the pinnacle of everything that I shot for in my life. You can do anything that you want to do if you put your mind to it. Thank you very much. God bless you. Best of luck.